Oh my God, it's Dulcie. Welcome everybody to Astrology Victoria once again with
Dulcie and
Tatiana.
descended from our other planet onto the
Oh
Earth.
yes. Well, today I just felt like trying like cool things out. Like, look at this. I have this very cool thing with lights and look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it.
Ooh, you're sparkling. Wait,
Where are those
light
hearts?
that's
Yay.
sparkling? Yeah, it's not the glasses that are making it. Is it
Yes,
the
it's
glasses?
glasses. Yes. But
Well,
where are those hearts? They don't even exist anywhere. Like it's just a little piece of paper and then it makes hearts with light. Like, what the F, right? And I was trying, like, I just felt like trying a different hairdo. I don't know, it's just for a change, you know? It's necessary sometimes to just see if things can be a little bit different. And speaking of different, what is it that we're going to cover today, Dulcie?
Aquarius, it tends to be on the different side.
Oh.
Interested in what is different that diverts from the norm. I think, Tatiana, you are displaying that very well today.
Well, I just felt like it. So yes, we're covering today in our archetype series the archetype of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. So Dulcie, let's get into it. What are the basics of our Aquarius archetype?
Let's cover those basics. So the duality is masculine, and the element or triplicity is air. So despite the sign being a water bearer, it is an air sign. So it is not a water sign. The quality or quadruplicity is fixed. And the ruler, the traditional ruler is Saturn. And what is the modern ruler?
The modern ruler is Uranus.
Woo!
And we'll have a lot of things to say about these basics. So the first thing we said, of course, as we keep alternating from masculine, feminine, this is a masculine air sign. And masculine usually, as we say, is energy that is focused outward, is energy that is active usually towards something. And in an air sign, it's usually more linked to the mind or the things that are not necessarily tangible. Mm-hmm. Aquarius is our last air sign. So we have, of course, we have Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And in that last part of the mind, we're almost exploring what the lower mind is like, you know, with Mercury, how, like, the first ideas of what is this, what is that, how does this work. Once we get to Aquarius, we're almost exploring the higher mind, the architecture by design of a higher mind that's beyond us, beyond my little decoder called my brain. There's a much larger thing that designed me, and that's the Aquarian field. That is something that it's beyond, that just tries to come through and make itself present. So that's the air kind of quality to it. Do you want to add anything to that air quality of the mind?
Something that is fairly basic as well. So all air and fire signs are masculine, and all earth and water signs are feminine. And in terms of this type of air, since it is ruled by, I'll go with Saturn, since that's what I study, it is kind of more less focused on the basics of things, like someone might be focused on in Gemini, just kind of, you know, putting the building blocks together to see what this makes, or studying this and studying that and wanting to know about a lot of different things. This kind of air quality is air quality. It's a little bit smoky out there. So this type of air is more focused on like broad concepts or understanding why humanity is like this, or what is a solution for all of humanity, or what is a solution for this group of people. And Saturn has to do with both structures and boundaries. So it might be focused on ideas for what is within this boundary. So within this group of people, what might work for them, or what is on the outside of that boundary. So what might work for this group of people who are completely different from the norm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the two rulers, the ancient ruler like Saturn, and then the new ruler Uranus, when it was discovered, um, there's also this desire to evolve because as a humanity we are ready. So there's almost like a readiness to say, you see, before the Earth was flat. But guess what? It's actually not flat. When somebody started studying and seeing and going beyond and saying, no, you see, it's round. And people are like, no, of course not round. And then it evolved. It's the same thing. We evolve, science evolves, things evolve when the human consciousness is ready for that evolution. So when Uranus steps in and pushes forward even the astrology studies, it's almost like saying Saturn, for me, represents, as the ruler of Aquarius, the architecture of the higher mind. Like galaxies are in forms of spirals, and then the clusters of galaxies are in spirals, and then there's these fractals, and there's a perfect mathematical design to existence that some kind of higher mind designed it. Who? I don't know. But it is kind of a higher design, and without Saturn having that structural sense, then this design would be just a random chaos. But it's not a random chaos. Nothing really is in a random chaos. And this is what I think is the Saturn role as the ruler of Aquarius. And like Dulcie said, it's like sometimes it also shows what's here and what's there, what's different in that, let's say, dualistic nature. However, once we start getting into more of an understanding that there's not really a separation between anything, the design encompasses absolutely everything. And that's when Uranus comes in, that higher mind that says there is a design, there is something, and within this design, there's all this constant energetic movement, fields of energy. It's the wave function in quantum physics versus the particle function. It's like something's kind of always there vibrating, ready to be expressed, and there's no time and space really, only a decoded sense. So it's kind of like, what? But only when the human being is ready for that understanding. And hey, people, guess what? We are like really stepping into this with all these planets coming into Aquarius February 2021. Like, oh my God, this is how it's going to be felt, as something that is kind of, it's where is the internet? Can you touch it, Dulcie? Show me. I can't see the internet. Where's my Wi-Fi? Where's it coming from? ah, ah you see,
And
it's
yet it
like,
works. There are structures to it. It makes sense. But what?
exactly, the internet is the perfect example. It's a structured system. It's perfectly structured, but where is it? Can you touch it? Hell no. Where is it? It's nowhere. Somebody unplugs the servers, it's gone. Oh, and still, yet, it's a perfect structure. So that's the Saturn and then the Uranus that pushes forward that evolution and the way we can just move forward with things. And even in astrology, like evolutionary astrology takes on more of that Uranian quality, because the mind is ready also to understand its own structures, how this mind is structured, or even a person's life, or beyond the mundane things. Evolutionary astrology in particular deals with even the soul's journey, which before was not even really considered a thing. It's just like you live a life and then you have these characteristics and this is how it is and that's it. No, this goes even beyond. Understand what happened beyond and before that and after that, and not even before or after, maybe simultaneously, because maybe you're changing something in this life and then it changes everything in what you did before. It's like, but how? Because time is not a thing. When you enter the Uranian field, these concepts get completely like woo. So and then the fixed element, because we've talked a lot about the planets, the fixity also I think has to do with the idea that these structures are by design. So once something is set as like this is the design, there's kind of this fixity to it. It's kind of by design. That's my thought. What do you think, Dulcie, about the fixity?
Yeah, because someone had said to me, well, since you're an Aquarian, you must have very fixed beliefs or fixed ideas. And so that could represent that. Of course, it's a fixed sign and it's an air sign. So one would assume that one's ideas or beliefs are also fixed. But I don't necessarily resonate with that, of course. You know, some ideas are fixed and I will stand by them, but others can be changed based on new information. So perhaps it's more of kind of developing not just one idea, but then taking that idea and developing a whole um, theory to it, or you know, diving into that one idea and learning about what causes that to happen, um, and then forming your belief based on that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And forming, I like that. I like what you said about forming the belief after understanding these, structures or how things work.
Mhm.
And so, and I guess the best way that I could ever describe Aquarius is with the analogy of there's two analogies. The clock is number one, what I call the clock. If you have a clock, you have all these little pieces, and each piece is different. And each piece is as important for the clock to work. If you had a clock with only pointers, then the clock would not be clock. It would just be a bunch of pointers. It would have no purpose. So Aquarius is kind of that clock that every piece is as important in its individual expression. And the other one, of course, is the human body. And the human body is a great thing. And I brought up, like with Dulcie earlier, talking about how Bruce Lipton, who discovered like epigenetics, he has this theory of the epigenetics. He discovered that stem cells, which is just a cell, and they're like the same, put in different mediums, they would just grow into being different cells. So this is kind of the Aquarian version of like how things work. Like, wow, one same thing that comes from one same design and one same blueprint can be different things and individuated and serve a purpose that's very specific. So a liver cell doesn't have the same function as a brain cell or a muscle cell, but it's not like one is more important than the other. Like if one doesn't work, the body doesn't work. As
Mhm.
opposed to Leo, the energy of Leo is like, let's only have liver cells. That's Leo. It just focuses on the liver. The liver is it's everything. That's the focus. It's like, no. In Aquarius, we have like, I'm sorry, liver, you are not as important or not more important than brain or hand, or like you're not. Like, I'm sorry. It's still gonna be awesome, but part of a working whole, and that's why in the Aquarian energy, there's this more circular, it's not pyramidal structures, it's a circular structure of everything is interdependent in order for the whole to work. So if something in the whole's not working properly, then the whole gets affected, or vice versa. If something's very positive for the whole, then the whole gets affected regardless. So yeah, that's my best description of the Aquarian energy, of why individuation is something that pertains to the function of each part, and not necessarily I'm just different just to be different. So Dulcie, I would like to share the image that I created. And like I always say, I create these images with a lot of love and passion for you to see. And this is my vision, of course, of what Aquarian energy looks like. Let's share the screen. And so the image, Dulcie, what do you see and what do you perceive in this image, from the colors, the shapes, the everything to the symbols?
Yeah, so the first thing that I noticed was the light bulb representing ideas, but they are ideas about perhaps all of humanity, or um, ideas outside of humanity, even like ideas that are outside the box, essentially. So, looking at something and thinking about it in a different way, in a way that other people haven't necessarily thought about it in that way yet. And we see the people all around the globe and all around the ideas. So they're not distinctive people. We can't see who these people are, but it's a group of people. So that I see as Aquarian, in that it's less about the individual and more about the whole. And they are all around the globe, so perhaps putting their efforts together, their minds together to problem solve. And they, so what I find in terms of being an Aquarian, like there is an interest in learning about groups of people who are different, or finding different solutions for a certain group of people, or a
or,
fascinating.
or also associating with people that have the same resonance as you. Somehow there's like a resonance when you resonate with a group. It's like, oh, I resonate with this, so I want to integrate with this group. That's a very
Yeah,
Aquarian thing. Yeah.
group oriented. Yeah, I can see that as resonating with somebody, but also, or people, but also an interest in people who are completely different than oneself, and a desire to learn about them and understand why they think the things they do and why they do the things they do. So yeah, not necessarily about studying one individual person from each group, but like wanting to know how they function as a whole. Um, and the tree kind of coming off of the planet. So to me, that uh, represents, of course, thinking outside the box and thinking of ideas that are kind of out there, out in space. um, and one idea kind of growing off of another. And it's similar to the connections in the brain. You have a thought, and then it lights up a different thought, and then it lights up this entire pathway that has been used before. And then it branches off from there. One idea leads to another, and so on. And yeah, we see the structures down at the bottom, kind of representing structures to abstract ideas. Yeah, yeah, I think that's what I see.
So yeah, this is like, I put this like kind of glowing in, it's floating in outer space. Also because Aquarian energy is connected to the like cosmic civilizations, or things out there, extraterrestrials, like it's connected to this idea that we're not alone in the cosmos, that is not just we're humans here on our earth, it's like beyond our earth. So once the mind is ready to open up to those ideas, that we're not alone, and there's probably other beings, civilizations that work in, that even function at different frequencies. And then that's why it's kind of floating there in outer space, is that exploration of the great beyond. And these people are kind of in that glowing aura of rainbow, which is a field of energy. Because Aquarius is also determined by this like fields of energy, things that we don't see, but they're there. Again, is by design. There's this geometrical designs, and then fields and electrons and electricity. And that's like Uranus rules electricity. So that's why also the ideas pop through, like we are electrical beings. And if you think of a toroidal field or an electromagnetic field, you cannot really see the field, but it's there. It's really there. And if you could draw it, it would make a special kind of shape. And those are all those designs of things that are so intangible, yet they're so real. Electrons moving and quantum particles. And Aquarius is connected to science also, because it's that study, that detached and cold study of what is by design, and trying to understand how everything functions. And that's why lots of Aquarian people are interested in also science. And it's very detached. Aquarian energy can be also very detached, again, because it's not really emotional. It's really about understanding certain mental functions, higher mind functions. And science needs to be like, imagine I put all my emotion into a scientific experiment. Well, it's kind of biased. You need to be like detached and very observing, cold observation and method to in order to understand certain things. So those are those like kind of structural things, and then the science and the little equations over there, like that there is a design that is mathematical by design, are there's something phenomenal that everything can be seen with mathematics. But where is math? Where is it? It's everywhere, and yet it's nowhere. It's in the mind. So that's that, the cosmic, the and I have this little like idea that I mean, and this is again still theoretical, but that, for instance, a civilization like the Pleiadians, it's the future of the humans. So it's like, yeah, but how is that possible? And then they theoretically connect or back to us through like channels and mediums that use their minds or their ability to channel energy and interpret it. And they're just communicating from the future of us. So it's future version of us in the past, like, okay. You see, it's like all these new ideas that's totally possible are only going to be even bigger now that we're entering the age of Aquarius, and we're going to see that more and more and more. Like sci-fi, when you see sci-fi stuff, it's like sci-fi began not long ago. It was always like, but now it's bigger. And even in movies, you see the sci-fi things, and now we're really literally catching up to sci-fi movies with actual real technological progress. Like, let alone Elon Musk, North Node and Mars, 10th house in Aquarius. Dude, his version of utopia is let's go to Mars. And there you go. Let's just make it work in a big team effort to put the rockets in space and make a new living in Mars. Why not? That's an expression, of course, of that energy. It's not the only one. Again, we could have also the expression of that beautiful age of Aquarius foreseen by, more of the movement of the 60s, where everybody lives in communities, and these communities are self-sustaining, and it's in concordance with the earth and with one another, and everybody wants to work for the collective good, and that includes the earth, and that will be a great expression of that energy. You see, so this energy can be very forward thinking, and it's evolutionary. It's always in motion. It's just forward. It's the future. This energy does not correspond to what's known. It usually corresponds to what's unknown. Therefore, that outer space, just like it's unknown, and it's almost endless. So yeah. Oh, and the last thing is that because Aquarius is just before Pisces, is almost that understanding of that design of something higher. We could call it source, God, energy, before it goes into dissolution and like here, if even the design is just an illusion. But at the Aquarius stage of the understanding of evolution, we're still thinking in terms of structures, but they're no longer necessarily earthly physical structures. It's the multidimensional ideas that everything can exist simultaneously. And in our little anecdotes, we will tell a little bit about that multidimensional aspect of Aquarius. So yeah, those are like kind of the basics. Yeah. So Dulcie, now that we talked about this, what are our higher expressions and lower expressions of Aquarius? Let's start with the more positive, higher expressions of this energy.
Okay, so what I have is idealistic. So you had been talking about future oriented or future focused. So one Aquarian's version of utopia or a perfect future is different than the next Aquarian. And it doesn't necessarily mean there is one type of utopia that is the perfect one.
I want one utopia.
Right. Yeah. So just that person's version of utopia is what they will be focused on or wanting to create in some way. So original and the enjoyment of being original and different, as well as an appreciation of those who are also different. And intellectual independence, future focused, I said, does not follow a precedent. So, the path has been laid before them. They will purposely divert from that path just because. And, interested in what's outside of that path, once you veer from it. A truth teller of opinions and one's observations. Rational, open-minded, strong individuality, and comfortable with all types of people, regardless of their status.
Yep. I have also the genius. There's something about the genius mind when with Aquarian energy. It's like, how did they make this happen? The scientist, the revolutionary, someone that wants to not conform to the status quo. So it's all, of course, a nonconformist. And that's how we evolve, by pushing forward. And the outsider, the one that can literally see things differently in order to give contrast and propose new ideas. Yeah, those are like the basic like traits of the positive Aquarian expression.
Mm-hmm.
How about the more shadow side or negative qualities, Dulcie?
Yeah. So the idea of being detached can be one of those qualities. And I think that comes from perhaps a more leaning towards rational rather than emotional, or leaning on the mind more than the heart. And detached because the interest or the focus can be on a general, as in like a group of people rather than an individual person. Stubborn, contrary, just to be different, just for the sake of it. And then argumentative for the fun of it. So, playing devil's advocate, just because. Yeah.
I have definitely, like you said, a little bit along those lines of detachment, but more like indifferent and aloof.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really when it's pushed to the extremes. The detached quality can be completely cold, like an iceberg. It's the iceberg. It's so hard, cold logic, and that it just has no room for emotion. for that kind of like fuzzy Cancerian emotion. No, that's why it's like a quinkles aspect to Cancer. It's like, no time for fuzzy nurturing. It's like, it's cold, hard logic. Let's keep pushing on, you know. It could be also the misfit, and the misfit is just somebody that just really self-proclaims as, I'm different, therefore I'm never going to fit anywhere. So it's the extreme, and that could be also very radical. So the radical person could actually self alienate from
Yeah.
everybody else. It's like, I'm so different. I have you are all different from me. It's like the bell curve, like everybody's kind of in the middle of the curve, and then the misfit is kind of, if this is normal, then it's over there. And then they kind of feel, I am so different, I'll never fit in. And then it's a self-proclaimed, there's like no effort into understanding that there can be a consensus, or that there's ways to fit in or find people that are different and mesh with them. This is like the extreme of the misfit. It's like, so quirky and weird. Am I quirky and weird, Dulcie? I don't think so. And the last one I would say is the anarchist. Because one thing is to be revolutionary and like fight for ideals and for utopian causes and be a humanitarian of sorts. And another thing is just like creating chaos and be just, I'm not conforming to this. I'm just gonna create chaos and I don't care about anything. And that's the anarchy side of the rebel, that Aquarian will definitely not be conforming to norms and status quo. But the anarchist is just like the extreme of that, and then that brings nothing really positive in the end, because it's just chaos for the sake of chaos, or rebellion for the sake of rebellion, without like a real forward moving higher purpose. Yeah, so those are the basics.
So my screen just went all crazy. Can you see that, or is that just me?
It's just you. Ah! Like, are you even real, Dulcie? I don't think so. I think you're a bunch of zeros. You are a bunch of zeros and ones.
This is so.
Now let's go into little stories. So do you have any anecdotes of people that you know with a strong Aquarian energy?
Yeah, sure. So myself, of course. A So I have Sun, Moon, and Mercury all in Aquarius in the 11th house. And just as a child, I purposely just didn't follow other children. And I, just like you're doing with your hair, so I would put all my hair in a ponytail, but not in the back. It would be like right on my forehead. And just go to school like that. So that was me. And now I find myself unable to follow rules. Like I'll be given, especially in school, if there's an assignment, there are the certain, elements that I need to cover in this assignment. And I will have a hard time sticking to those specific points. I'll want to, boot one out and then
do your own thing.
Just, follow most of it, but then there's this one piece of it that I will totally want to ignore and then make my own thing just for the sake of it. I don't know why. Yeah.
Because of your Aquarian energy. Oh, duh.
Exactly.
And your 11th house, like, 11th house groups, associations. Do you like feel like having an astrology group, Dulcie, by any chance? Like, did you ever feel that need?
Yeah, definitely. That has definitely been.
I think it's called Astrology Victoria. Yay, that's us, but that's not because of me. I gotta tell you the truth, people. It's all because of Dulcie. Had she not reached out and said, "Where's the meetup group where all the astrology people are?" There would not be Astrology Victoria. So thank you, Dulcie. Without you and your amazing Aquarian endeavors, we would not be here, and you would not be here seeing this awesome teachings.
Crazy. Yeah. So yeah, definitely all about those groups. Yeah, I think that's my story.
Well, I have something about like what the energy of Aquarius could feel like in the world, like this multi-dimensional feel of the energy of Aquarius, which is again so fast moving and non-tangible. And the other day I was having a music class. I was having a singing class with my teacher on Zoom. And then he recorded some videos for me to watch. So I have another screen on my iPad, and I had him on live here, his exercises here. He tells me something like open exercise so and so. So I opened the exercise, and then suddenly I noticed I had two of him at the same time, and I could not have said who's the real one. They both look so real, and yet they're not even real, because it's just my screen. It's zeros and ones on my screen. It's just an electrical current that's not even plugged to anything, because it's a battery. Like, this is insane how technology and science does that it puts a person there that's not even there, and it could be there but it's not there. And then, like, I'm going to give a talk in March about the structures of consciousness and astrology, which I hope you all will attend. It was going to be awesome. And of course, if you're watching this video after that, then you, it will have already happened, but it hasn't happened yet. But if you're watching the video later, then it already happened. So you understand what I mean with the feeling of multidimensional things. Time is not even a thing anymore. You know, screens, things, holograms, nothing, everything's everywhere, and we have clones of things floating. And yeah, or I was attending a Zoom wedding the other day, and I was on Zoom on a wedding that's in Colombia. At the same time, I was doing some work on the internet, and at the same time, I was talking to a friend who's in New York. Thank you, Aquarius. Thank you, internet. Thank you for this new perception. And people, just get used to it, because it's only gonna move forward. So if you're not even sure what's going on with our planet, get used to it. I'm just saying, just get used to it and make the best out of this energy. Okay, Dulcie, anything else to close?
Just as as we were discussing about like technology and just all of that. So take a look at this if you can see. Can you see this?
Oh, Dulcie, it's two of you.
Do you see the
It's three
flash?
of you. I do see the flashing.
My reflection. The flashing is what's happening on my screen right now.
Oh, it's crazy, but that's your reflection of you with you in you. And then if you,
Oh, it's not playing anymore. Yeah.
oh, and it's playing and it's flashing. But are you real, Dulcie? Where are you? Where do you even live? I don't even know where you live. I'm scared now, you see? So people, get used to this is Aquarius. Embrace it, love it, do the best you can with it, because this energy can be also very cold. We could end up with a very robotic, cold civilization where like there's no connection. Or let's take it to the next level of connecting more and using these platforms to connect more, to make sure we're all more together, more in the heart. Let's use our energy, not so much necessarily the technology, but our biological energetic fields to connect to each other. Telepathic, like that's also part of the Aquarian energy. Telepathy, energy healing, things that are not seen. So all of that is what could be, happening in this, coming era. We're going to be more multidimensional, connected to each other through fields of energy. So let's not necessarily only rely on technology, rely on the internet. That's something that I would definitely keep saying. Our internet, we're already connected through a mental field that's much bigger than ourselves or our phones, or, so that's that. And last thing, if you have a stellium of planets, many planets in Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, we want your comments and your stories to see how you feel this energy, and especially now with this Aquarian, tons of planets coming in, and tell us how you're feeling this energy. We'd love to hear from you. And like, subscribe, share all the awesome things for the algorithms to find us. And last but not least, you know that beautiful image I created? I have all these beautiful images available in some nice products. So we'll put the information in the link below if you'd like to get some nice merch with beautiful images. It's coming again. It's still like in that past, present, future. It's not kind of ready, but it will, but it's not. And you know, it's coming. It's there. All right, Dulcie, let's do it.
All right.
I
Bye,
hope we didn't
guys.
forget anything. Let's fly to
Off to outer
infinity and
space.
beyond. What?
We're off to outer space.
Let's just wrap it up, people. I'm going on my starship.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye. Bye, Dulcie.
Bye.
Bye.